So anyway, this is some source material. And I was reading scripture like a couple weeks ago. You know, I want to just read this because it just drew my eye. I'm going to see what they're talking about. If thou bringest forth children, why dost thou it not together, but one after another? Pray her therefore to bring forth 10 children at once. And I said, she cannot, but must do it by distance of time. Then said he unto me, even so have I given the womb of the earth to those that be sown in it in their times. For like a young child may bring forth the things that belong to the aged, even so have I disposed the world which I created. And I asked and said, seeing thou hast now given me the way, I will proceed to speak before thee. For our mother, of whom thou hast told me that she is young, draweth now nigh unto age. He answered me and said, ask a woman that beareth children, and she shall tell thee. Say unto her, wherefore are unto they whom thou hast now brought forth, like those that were before, but less of stature. I get it. And she shall answer thee, they that be born in the strength of the youth of one fashion, and they are born in the time of age, when the womb faileth, or otherwise. Consider thou therefore also how that ye are less of stature than those that were before you. And so are they that come after you less than ye, as the creatures which now begin to be old, and have passed over the strength of youth. Then I said, Lord, I beseech thee, if I have found favor in thine sight, so thy servant by whom thou visitest thy creature. Okay, so I had started off reading in Esdras 5, chapter 5, verse 5? That would be verse 5 and 55. That's where I started. Okay, now, chapter 6. And he said unto me in the beginning, when the earth was made, before the borders of the world stood, or ever the winds blew, before it thundered and lightninged, that's a tongue twister, or ever the foundations of paradise were laid, before the fair flowers were seen, or ever the movable powers were established, before the innumerable multitude of angels were gathered together, or ever in the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measure of the firmament was named, or ever the chimneys in Sion were hot, and ere the present years were sought out, and or ever the inventions of them that now sin were turned, before they were sealed, that have gathered faith for a treasure. Then I did consider these things, and they all were made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other. By me also they shall be ended, and by none other. Then I answered and said, then answered I and said, what shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning. Of it that followed. The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other question, Esdras, asked thou not? I answered then and said, O Lord, that beareth rule, if I have found favor in thy sight, I beseech thee, shew thy servant the end of thy tokens thereof. Thou sweeteth me part 2 last night. I need to look up what that means. So he answered and said unto me, stand up upon thy feet and hear a mighty sounding voice, and it shall be as it were a great motion, but the place where thou standest shall not be moved. All right. And therefore, when it speaketh, be not afraid, for the word of the end and the foundation of the earth is understood. And why? Because the speech of these things trembleth and is moved. For it knoweth that the end of these things must be changed. And it happened. And then I had heard it, and I stood up upon my feet and hearkened, and behold, there was a voice that spake, and the sound of it was like the sound of many waters. Yes, Isaiah.
No, I'm sorry to bother you. I'm about to clean the bathroom and clean the kitchen, but can I ask for something?
What?
Can I go to Barnes & Noble to buy a book? It's $25. I just want to ask first. It can be a no. I can handle a no.
What book is it, Isaiah? Because you ain't wrote in the first book yet.
Well, it's not like a activity book. It's like a book. Like read.
Sure.
I can? Are you sure? Positive. Okay. Love you.
Love you too.
You're a bad.
Okay. All right, where was I? Okay. The voice spake. Okay, now this is it. And the sound of it was like the sound of many waters. And it said, behold, the days come that I will begin to draw nigh and to visit them that dwell upon the earth. And I will begin to make inquisition of them, and what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness. And when the affliction of Sion shall be fulfilled, and when the world that shall begin to vanish away shall be finished, then I will shew these tokens. The books shall be opened before the firmament, and they shall see all together, and the children of the year old shall speak with their voices, and the women with child shall bring forth untimely children of 3 or 4 months old, and they shall live and be raised up. What? What? And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, and the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. What? I was not expecting this. Whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told thee shall escape shall escape and see my salvation and the end of your world. And the men that are received shall see it, who have not tasted death from their birth. And the heart of the inhabitants shall be changed and turned into another meaning. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be squenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth, which hath been so long without fruit, shall be declared. You know, that's deep, because that's what this whole conversation was about, was the deceit. You know what I'm saying? The corruption. Because it's like, you don't know. How would you know if somebody took something from you at birth? Like, how would you know? Right? You know what I'm saying? How would you know somebody, if you had an inheritance from some ancestors down 10 family trees ago that left you something in a trust, and as soon as you was born they took it, and you didn't even know they took it. You didn't know. You know what I'm saying? That's the conversation I was trying to get into. And like I said, was the source document as well as the word. Okay. And last week I read 2nd Esdras 2:22. See, listen, so whenever it opened up, that's why I just started reading from. And it just so happened. You know what I mean? So reading this now, it's like confirmation of that very thing that I've been kind of like on fire about, which is, taking control of your you know what I'm saying, yourself and your name and your inheritance, and knowing how to properly go about doing those things. And as I was going through different things, learning about trust and equitable rights and this and that. I mean, all these things that I had never heard of ever in my life. I'm reading books, and I'm learning words and things that were established back in, I don't know, 400, 800,000 years ago, whatever. And like, it's crazy because you like reading, me being able to read this is something that was fought against. They didn't want us to read. And for the longest time, it's just like, okay. And then when you get to this place and you're reading and and you have you overstand what the message, not like verbatim in its entirely. I gotta get every single word. And you definitely, when you get into the words, you definitely gotta pull out a dictionary, and truly study and show yourself improved in this, and just don't be pulling. You know what I'm saying? Because the objective for me first was just to read the word. And I was just blessed in the fact that because that's what I felt, bliss in the fact that it gave me confirmation, like, okay. That was just, the icing on the cake. So, I want to break down some of the stuff that he already said, but I'm already just so excited about what I've read so far. I just want to read a little bit more into chapter 6, and like, it gets deep. It's getting deep because I just glanced at the first couple lines of chapter 7, and I'm like, okay, hold on. I forgot to turn this light on. But anyway, it don't really make that much of a difference, do it? So okay, let's go into chapter 6. Okay, and he said unto me in the beginning, when the earth was made, before the borders of the world stood. Oh, okay, hold on. I read that. Okay, we're just gonna keep going. Wherever the winds blew, before it thundered and lightning, or ever the foundations of paradise were laid, before the fair flowers were seen, or ever the movable powers were established, before the innumerable multitude of angels were gathered together, or ever the heights of the air were lifted up, before the measures of the firmament were named. We've heard about that firmament, haven't we? Okay. All right. Or ever the chimneys of Sion were high. I've never heard Sion. I've never heard that. Like, I'm assuming that's a place, but I've never heard of that. And ere the present years were sought out, and ever the inventions of them that now sin were turned, before they were sealed, that have gathered faith for a treasure. Then did I consider these things, and they were made through me alone, and through none other. By me also they shall be ended, by none other. Okay, see, now I remember where I was at, because I had already read this, and I was trying to figure out where I was at. But so remember, we were just talking about when it said the sounds of the voice spake, and the sound of it was like many waters. And it said, behold, the days come that I will begin, draw nigh, and to visit them that dwell upon the earth, and will begin to make inquisition of them that that what no inquisition of them what they be that have hurt unjustly with their unrighteousness. Okay, so yeah, that's what I was saying before I got interrupted. Yeah, what is that about? What is that about? So, like I was saying, like if somebody took something from you at birth, you wouldn't know. You know what I'm saying? That somebody took something from you at the end of the day. That's the point I was making. Um, that's the point I was making. Like you wouldn't know. And partially, one of the partial reasons for me buying this version of the text, the Bible, was because it can, what I believe it contains some type of information that I would need to refer back to when it comes to like trust law and stuff like that. And I've seen a lot of people reference it and different things. So that was the mind behind that. But I'm telling y'all, like, sheesh, this is getting deep. So the unrighteousness, the affliction, you know, the fruitless, like, you know, they used to say the fruits of your labor. But it's like we labor in vain because we were given an inheritance and somebody took it from you. And then it goes back to the what I was saying about reading, not wanting us to learn how to read. And then now that everybody can read, there's so much distraction that there's so much. It's not only so many distractions, but it's so many false teachers. There's so many false teachers. That's what word I was looking for. There's so many false teachers, and there's so many we're just gonna say spirits that have manipulated this, you know, to their gain. You know, and it goes to back being of the world and, you know, desiring those things more than righteousness. You know what I mean? When it comes to the whole path that, you know, I've been on and I've been studying, when it comes to the Internal Revenue Manual, you know, taxes being voluntary, and then we piggyback off of the amount of distractions that we have and the bits and pieces of information that we've been fed, to going back to fear, putting us in a state of fear, so that even when we get information, we're afraid to take it. We're afraid to move on it. We sitting back and we watch and we waiting for somebody else to do it. We're waiting for somebody else to get a result and then come back and tell us, hey, look at this. You know what I'm saying? But what I've seen from my personal experiences, I've been, you know, taking in little bits of information at a time from different, you know, platforms and people who are like heavy into this stuff, is that when you get through this and truly understand and able to break it down, because for me, it has been challenging. Not only overstanding, but putting it into action, and like that fear, that apprehension of, you know what I'm saying? And that's just something that is just a part of the program that you have to push through. And, you know, I always hear, you know, references to scripture and it's saying this was promised to us. And I know that the books are my books. You see what I'm saying? I also know that they were deliberately redacted to extreme levels to stop me from getting this information, putting two and two together. So the barriers of things that have um, been potential blockers, I'm recognizing and I'm just pushing through. And something that happened today, I always say success loves speed, but sometimes I catch myself not moving on things right away, and I'll have something, and I'll just, oh, that's great, and I'll kind of feel it in that moment, and then, um, it'll be just be a note in my notepad. It'll just be a note or something. I'm not taking any action, and I couldn't understand what it was, and I just kept thinking to myself, like, what is it that's stopping you from making a move? Why are all these things on the back burner? Like, why do you have all these things just on the back burner? Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get to that next, and not taking any actionable steps whatsoever to do it. And I'm like, damn, this procrastination thing is wild. And I had seen a clip of a lady. She was preaching about it, and she said that's the spirit of procrastination or whatever. Can't quote her exactly what she said, but she's like, that is your fear of success, your fear of wealth, and da 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 da. And I'm like, ooh. You know what I'm saying? Because case in point, somebody calls me the other night about doing like an initiative for children investing in funds and things like that. And he kind of ran it by me. I was like, all right, cool. I was appreciative of the fact that he thought of me. And like soon as I got off the phone, because it's something that I align with, especially as soon as I got off the phone, I instantly went on ChatGPT. I got hashtags, I got introductions, I got a campaign on how to promote it. I ran all the shit through there and just boop 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 boop, and put that shit together so fast. And I didn't send it to him yet because in the past sometimes I just somebody asks me for help and I just come in and just do a bunch of stuff, and then things don't be right on the back end, and I be feeling some type of way like a goofy. So that's just another something I'm working on. So, but the point that I want to make is that I instantly boop, 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 got that information, and it was second nature. I know that I'm brilliant, and I know I have an amazing brain, and I can retain information and learn things and stuff like that. But I've never been motivated by money alone. And what I noticed is that I've been and pushing through this as well. It's not feeling like that I need a group. Like I've listened to like Mastermind and Napoleon Hill and stuff like that. And he talks about having this group of people, and and I believe in the power of that energy field that's created when two or more are coming together and working towards something. And I really, really desire to have that. And it's like me wanting that and feeling like I couldn't move forward without that was what was really kind of holding me back. So, so today, I took the day off or whatever. I was just like, I'm not feeling it. And I get my laptop and I pick up this Bible, and I'm like, let me just read a little bit of something. And in the back of my mind, I was asking myself, like, man, I've had this information. This guy who I was taking these courses from, he's the type of person, like, he'll give you something and then he'll take it away. Like, he'll get upset about something. He'll be like, oh, I'm no longer given access to this type of deal. So kind of like if you don't move on it right away, you can essentially lose whatever information that you already paid for. But for me, it was just like, you know what? I've been sitting on this information for not all of it because he's been adding to it, but literally since early 2022. So you're looking at 2 years where all I did was read and just take in information and save things and organize it and blah, 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 but not, actually any actionable steps. And I was like, damn, like, what is it? The procrastination and all that. But what I realized is also is that I realized that a lot of the things that I did Like even going to school when I was a kid, going to school, my mom never had to tell me to get good grades or anything like that. But I was a straight A student. But I think fear of what would happen if I didn't do it was always a motivator. So you could be motivated by fear, but when you don't have it anymore, I don't have that same fear anymore. I'm an adult. I don't have the same fears. Um, and I get up and I have a career, and sometimes you get comfortable. You get really comfortable. You make a decent living. Um, and you're like, well, I'm good, even though it's not fair. I know this information exists. I know that I'm being railroaded. I'm being beyond taken advantage of. I know I've been robbed of my inheritance, but I just don't have the time or the energy to put into doing all of this and filing all these tax returns and filing these different documents and trusts and all of this. I just don't have the energy for it, so I'm just gonna be cool with the way things are. And if like I couldn't imagine doing that. All I think about ultimately would be the state of my generations to come. That's what it's really. I mean, for me too, absolutely. But because then I just something about saying I cracked the code. I got essentially got us out the jam. I recouped. I came back for what's mine. I was able to crack the code. I was able to figure it out and get what was due to me. And my lineage. You know what I'm saying? Um, that's what it really is. And then being a mother of two uh, men of color, like I want them to know who they are and what they, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not just anybody, you know what I'm saying? And we've been fed that narrative for so long that we just, we're nobody important, we're nobody special, and that's so furthest from the truth, you know. And even with everything that's going on in the spiritual community right now, um, because unlike many other people, I'm not gonna say I'm well versed, but I study on both sides of this, because how can you know, if you don't read it, if you don't study to show yourself improved in that, you can't battle against nothing you don't even know what it is. It could be in your face and you wouldn't recognize it. So that's like one of the things that I'm kind of like also passionate about. Like, hey, I'm all for anybody who have a want to have some type of connection with whatever that's gonna make them feel better and get through life. But you gotta study to show yourself improved. You can't just be repeating things that you hear. And you gotta get in deep. You gotta understand for yourself, because that's the only way you're gonna be set free. If somebody gotta feed you every day, even the word, that's not a good thing. Okay. And I learned that only because, well, not only because, but one of the reasons is when you go to church, you're only getting a little bits of scripture and what's gonna get everybody excited, or what word came to that pastor and what he felt like he wanted to share, based on what aligned with his spirit. And y'all feel it and get excited, and they play the little music and y'all get the hooping and hollering, and that's not going to be enough. And that's why if you don't know how to feed yourself spiritually, you don't have that connection with the word where you almost get full off of it, just reading it, and you're like, man, that's what they said. That that feeling of, all right, yes. But this is things that you would never hear anybody preach about. This is not for the pulpit. This is not for the show. This is for true, just aligning. I feel like it's more about alignment. This is like, okay, this is aligning you with what you need to be looking out for, what your expectation is, and who you are, and and what you're entitled to, and things like that, but that goes back into interpreting. You got to be able to, how you interpret it. But this is it. So back at second Esdras, chapter 6, verse 21. And the children of year old shall speak with their voices, and the women with child shall bring forth untimely children of 3 or 4 months old. I'm like, so that mean they saying that it's not going to be 9 months for a woman to bear a child? That's what I was getting. And the children will be speaking with their voices, like audibly, and having conversations at the age of 1. I can believe that. They shall live and be raised up, and suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown. The full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty, and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. Whosoever remaineth from all these that I have told, these shall escape and see my salvation, and the end of the world, and the men that are received shall see it, who have not tasted death from their birth, and the heart of the inhabitant shall be changed and turned into another meaning. For evil shall be put out, and deceit shall be squenched. As for faith, it shall flourish. Corruption shall be overcome, and the truth which hath been so long without fruit shall be declared. And when he talked with me, behold, I looked by little and little upon him before whom I stood, and these words said unto me, I am come to swoon thee in the time of the night to come. If thou wilt pray yet more and fast 7 days again, I shall tell thee greater things by day than I have heard. For thy voice is heard before Most High, for the mighty have seen my righteous dealings. He hath seen also thy chastity, which thou hast had ever since thy youth, and therefore hath he sent me to shew thee all these things, and to say unto thee, be of good comfort, and fear not, and hasten not with the times that pass, to think vain things. Thou mayest not hasten from the latter times. And it comes to pass after this, that I wept again and fasted 7 days in like manner, that I might fulfill the 3 weeks which he told me. And in the 8th night was why my heart vexed within me again, and I began to speak before the Most High, for my spirit was greatly set on fire, and my soul was in distress. And I said, O Lord, thou spakest from the beginning of creation, even the first day, and said thus, let heaven and earth be made, and thy word was a perfect work. And then was the spirit, and the darkness and silence were on every side. The sound of man's voice was not yet formed. Then commandest thou a fair light to come forth of thy treasures, that thy work might appear Upon the second day thou madest the spirit of the firmament, and the commandest it part asunder, and to make a division betwixt the waters, and that one part might go up, and the other remain beneath. Upon the third day thou didst command that the waters should be gathered in the sixth part of the earth. 6 parts have thou dried up, and kept them, to the intent that those were being planted of God and tilled might serve thee. All right. For soon as thy word went forth, the work was made, for immediately there was great and innumerable fruit, many and divers pleasures for the taste, and the flowers of unchangeable colors and odors of wonderful smell. And this was done the third day. Upon the fourth day thou commandest that the sun should shine, and the moon give her light, and the stars should be in order, and gaveth them a charge to do service unto the men that was to be made. Upon the fifth thou settest upon the seventh part, where the waters were gathered, that it should bring forth living creatures, fowls, and fishes. And it came to pass, for the dump water and for the dumb water, and without life brought forth living things at the commandment of God, that all people might praise thy wondrous works. Then didst thou ordain 2 living creatures, the one thou called Enoch, and the other Leviathan, and didst separate the one from another. For the seventh part, namely, where the waters were gathered together, might not hold them both. Unto Enoch thou gavest one part, which was dried up the third day. And he said, dwell in the same part wherein are 1,000 hills. But unto Leviathan thou gavest the seventh part, namely the moist, and kept him to be devoured, of whom thy wilt and when. Upon the sixth day they gave the commandment unto the earth, that before thee it should bring forth beasts, cattle, and creeping things, and after these Adam also, who madest Lord of all thy creatures. Of him come we all, and the people for whom thou hast chosen. All this have spoken before the Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said, they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and haste like in the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. And now, O Lord, behold, these heathen, which have ever been reputed as nothing, have begun to be lords over us, and to devour us. But we thy people, whom thou hast called thy firstborn, thou only begotten, thy fervent lover, are given into their hands. If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? Oh, how long shall this endure? Whoa. Whoa. Okay, so I'm stopping. I'm gonna stop right there. I'm gonna stop right there because I'll be reading this all day. But y'all see how that came full circle? I've never read this passage a day in my life, but you see how that came full circle? If the world now be made for our sakes, why do we not possess an inheritance with the world? How long shall this endure? Cut it. That's it. That's it. So, anyway. That was it. That did me. Yeah. Yeah. So, what I wanted to say is that even though that there's no sense of urgency right now, there's nothing, I know it seems like when you've been programmed to act only when you are in fear, imminent danger it's like some type of response, and I know it's not good, and I'm recognizing it, and the distractions, the phone, the social media, it's a lot of things that are pulling you in the opposite direction of what's going to really free you from it all. Like, you sitting here watching people, with these big, beautiful homes and cars, and you thinking, I need money to get that. Well, really, it's already yours. Yeah. You just don't know how to get it. I only heard that you can get it. I haven't done it for myself. But that's the reason for this conversation. It's because I've been holding back because there was no fear, no sense of urgency, no immediate danger. And I'm making a promise to myself that that's not gonna be it anymore. That I can move, for myself, by myself, and like I mentioned before, I don't need that mastermind group that I thought I needed. I just need to, focus and want it, because it sounds good, but and people talk about owning land and establishing these things that need to be established in order to be protected, and all of that. It's easier. It's a lot easier said than done, and it can be intimidating because it's like, what? What does that mean? Like, even when reading those couple of passages out of this Geneva Apocrypha Bible, there's quite a few terms and stuff that I came across in there. I have no idea what those words mean. I could guess based on the rest of the passage, but that's still only guessing. And another unfortunate thing about the English language, and it's an occult language, and occult meaning hidden, and hidden mean you don't really know what you're saying. Yeah, that type of thing. So like I said, over the last couple of years, as I started getting into this, you get the Black Dictionary out, and you getting these things out, and you're looking up the meaning of person, and you're looking up the name of this and that, and you realize the way you've been speaking and referencing these words they have a dual meaning. So you think it means this, or it actually can mean this under this dictionary, but when you are in a courtroom, or if any type of contracts are involved, it has a completely different meaning that puts you at a disadvantage. And a lot of these words put you at a disadvantage in court, and they put you at a disadvantage on a frequency level, basically because you could be literally cursing yourself, speaking against yourself all day, because you think the word that you're saying means something that it has an opposite meaning. So yeah, when you kind of get into etymology and root words and you breaking words down, and you know a lot of words are come from Latin, have been translated from Latin, but when you start to get into the etymology of the word and stuff like that, you be like, God damn! And the crazy, the one thing about it is, because you've been using this language so long, you've been speaking this way for so long, it takes quite a while to replace some of the words that you've been saying all your life. So I catch myself all the time, and try to, boop, 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 oops, let me just say this, instead. But it's a constant work in progress. Not speaking against myself and not speaking against myself and not cursing myself. So yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about. I didn't even realize this video was gonna be this long, but I'm gonna post it anyway, just because the old me wouldn't. That's the only reason, because the old me wouldn't post the damn thing. It'd just be in my phone forever.